14. The story was told of Columba McCann, who had saved the life of a complete stranger, Dominic Sampson, in the freezing misty waters of a loch, and how he had almost died himself. It was a wonderful story. It didn't sound like him at all. Ella nudged him in the ribs and whispered, "Columba? Where did you get a name like that?" If it had been anyone else but Ella, he might have cringed with embarrassment. But Ella got his hackles up, and for the first time he was proud of his name. Mam called her sons after Scottish saints. That's how Mungo got his name. "You called after a saint?" Ella began to snigger, but she was cut short by her mother slapping her on the hand. "I think it's a wonderful name, Col." He had to be pushed to his feet when the time came. He was nervous and felt even more that he didn't deserve to be here. He just didn't want to walk up onto that stage. He glanced at the other children gathered here. They were all real heroes, not him. He felt humble. "Look who's given you your award," Ella screeched. Col looked and saw the boy band she'd been eyeing up throughout the meal. Nevertheless, the hall erupted in applause as Col strode to the podium, his kilt swinging proudly round him. He seemed to get an even bigger cheer because of it. The band looked even younger when he got close to them, not much older than Col himself. "If there's ever anything we can do for you, Col," one of them said in a soft, lilting Irish accent as he gave him the award, a silver plaque set in midnight blue velvet. "And don't say 'stop singing,'" one of the others yelled, leading to more applause. "Something you could do for me," Col thought for a second. He was in such a wonderful mood he didn't have to think for long. He pointed towards his table. "See that girl sitting over there? The right miserable looking one. Could you give her your autograph?" Ella's jaw actually did fall open. Now she really looked stupid. The lead singer held his hand over his eyes as he was scanning the horizon. "Ah, yes, I see her. Is that your girlfriend?" Now Col's jaw dropped open. He began to protest so strongly he made the whole audience laugh. "Is she, heck?" he yelled. The applause and the laughter continued until he got back to his table. He expected Ella to be raging with anger for embarrassing her, but she was too delighted to be getting her own hero's autographs. After the awards had been presented, the real celebrations began. There was music, dancing, and cameras flashing as photographs were taken to mark the event. Ella was in heaven as her band came and led her away, laughing and joking. Mrs. Sampson, sipping champagne, edged over to Col and congratulated him again. "Would you like to go and phone your mother?" Col nodded. "I'd like that." He checked his watch. "She's bound to be home from the bingo by now." Mrs. Sampson laughed. "Phone from your room then." But Col didn't want to go back to his room. He didn't want to leave the atmosphere of this night for a second. Mrs. Sampson pointed out the phone booths in the foyer and even gave him a handful of coins. His mother was in, lifting the phone before the second ring as if she'd been sitting there just waiting. He babbled out everything that had happened as fast as he could, told her too how much he wished she was there with him. "But it's all right, ma'am," he went on, not wanting her to feel guilty. "I understand, and I'll have plenty of stories to tell you when I get back, and plenty of photographs. There's even going to be a video." "I'll look forward to seeing that," she said. "Is Mungo in?" he asked. He was desperate to tell his brother about the night, hoped he, too, might have been sitting by the phone waiting for his call. Some hope. Nothing kept his brother in. "You'll be back tomorrow, son, and you can tell him all about it then." Col put the phone down, trying not to feel homesick. He was trying not to wish so hard that his mother and his brother were here with him to share the night. And that's when he saw him. He was sure of it. Claus. Somewhere by the hotel entrance, among a throng of people milling around the foyer. Claus. He pushed his way forward, jumping up and down to get a clearer view. Claus! He shouted. Claus! And there he was again. This time he saw Coll too and waited, smiling. Coll couldn't hide his surprise. What are you doing here? Claus shrugged. Thought you would like someone here, just for you. You came all this way, just for me? You brought me food. You thought about me when no one else did. So I came. Coll eyed him as if he were crazy. He thought he was crazy. And yet he was so pleased to see him, so pleased he actually had come all this way for him. But how did you get here? He didn't wait for his answer. Did you hitch all the way here? Claus nodded. Coll couldn't believe it. All this way, just for me. He was truly touched. Claus sighed. He looked even paler than usual. In fact, he looked sick. Dark circles under his eyes, white, ashen face. He's going to die if I don't help him, Coll thought. And he knew that he didn't want that. You are my only friend, Coll. You're going to help me, aren't you? But how could he help him? What could he do? Yet he knew he had to do something. In a flash, he knew what that something might be. Mr. Samson. He could help Claus. He would know what to do. Mr. Samson was a good man. Coll almost blurted it out to Claus, but held his tongue. Time enough when they're home again. No point building up Claus's hopes. But Mr. Samson could help Claus get a passport. He could help him get home. And he wouldn't have to go to prison. Maybe, Coll thought, happy at the prospect. Maybe Claus had been right. He was going to help him to get home after all. Another good deed? Coll grinned to himself. Any more of those, and he'd begin to believe he really was a superhero. Why do you smile? Claus asked him, smiling himself. Nothing, Coll said. I'm just happy. And he was. He felt good about himself and about the world. I will help you get home, Claus. You see if I don't. That's a promise. I believe you, Claus said, as if it had been just what he expected of him. Suddenly another thought occurred to Coll. You come in and join us, Claus. The Samsons wouldn't mind. They're dead nice. Claus looked into the warm, bustling hotel, into the warm glow of the foyer. He shook his head. No, Coll, this is your night, and anyway, if I go in... He shook his head again. Too many questions. I can't answer. No amount of coaxing would convince him otherwise. Have you got something to eat? I could get you a carry-out. There's bags of food in there. Claus laughed. You worry about me too much. I am fine. Go. Enjoy yourself. I have to go back. Coll thought of him on a lonely dark road, waiting, hoping for someone to give him a lift. It was a sad, miserable picture. Yet, at least he was safe from Mungo. Mungo wouldn't find him tonight. Coll watched him go. He really felt moved that Claus had come all this way just for him. Who were you speaking to? Mrs. Samson touched his shoulder. Coll turned quickly. His face grew red. He knew he must look guilty. No one, he said. She followed his quick, furtive glance, almost as if she could see Claus. But she couldn't possibly. Coll was sure of it. Claus had already disappeared into the night, swallowed up by the crowds of London. Coll could have told her the whole story then, but he didn't. Tonight he would forget about Claus, forget about everything, just enjoy himself. Tonight was his night. But when they were back home, then he would do everything he could to help Claus.